Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with a hard truth. We live in a world that sees before it listens. And especially for women, the mirror doesn't lie. It reflects not only time, but value, visibility, and vitality. Now that may sound harsh, but harsh doesn't mean false. Let's be clear. Youth and beauty aren't some shallow currency. They are evolutionary signals of life, energy, and health. And when a woman begins to lose that glow, that spark, society responds. Doors close, voices quiet, attention drifts. But here's what they won't tell you. Aging is not the enemy, neglect is. The female body, with all its miraculous complexity, doesn't decline out of cruelty. It simply demands new kinds of care. So I want to talk to you about 3 biological allies. 3 vitamins that, when restored, can awaken the very systems that keep a woman radiant, youthful, and alive. 1, vitamin D, the light within. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's a hormone. It governs mood, immune strength, and skin integrity. Deficiency here is a slow fade. First your energy, then your spirit, and finally your presence. When a woman replenishes her vitamin D levels, she doesn't just feel better, she looks like she's come back to life. Skin clears, eyes brighten, that inner fire returns. It's the difference between someone who walks in the room and someone who arrives. 2, vitamin K2, the silent sculptor. Here's a secret hardly anyone knows. Your youth is hiding in your posture, in the way your bones hold you upright, the way your face retains its structure. Vitamin K2 doesn't just protect your heart and bones, it ensures calcium goes where it belongs. That means better skin tone, stronger teeth, a lifted face, and an aura of graceful aging. It's not magic, it's biochemistry. And women who learn it don't just age well, they age powerfully. 3, biotin, beauty's building block. You've heard of it, but probably dismissed it. Don't. Biotin fuels the cellular processes behind glowing skin, strong hair, and radiant nails. When a woman restores her biotin levels, the world notices. Her hair shines, her skin smooths. And suddenly people say things like, "What did you do? And you look amazing." What she did was feed the very cells responsible for youth. Some may say, but isn't this vain? Let me ask you, is vitality vain? Is health vanity? Is it wrong for a woman to want to be seen, to be desired, to feel alive in her own body? No, that's not vanity, that's truth. And truth is the foundation of beauty. Because looking younger isn't about erasing time. It's about reclaiming dignity. It's about saying, I am still here, I still matter, and I will not disappear quietly. To every woman listening, you are not broken. You are simply underfed. Feed your body like it deserves to be here. Feed it like you matter, because you do. And the moment you believe that, everyone else will too. We live in a culture obsessed with surface impressions, yet ironically, we're taught to pretend that appearance doesn't matter, that beauty is shallow, that youth is vanity. But this is a deeply dishonest way of engaging with reality, because whether we admit it or not, how someone looks communicates volumes about how they're living. It signals energy, it signals health, it signals competence, and in many ways, it determines how others will respond to us, often before we've said a single word. Nowhere is this more pronounced than in the lives of women. As women age, they're often told to accept the slow erosion of beauty as some kind of spiritual victory, like shrinking and fading is a form of wisdom. But this narrative is flawed, not only because it ignores biology, but because it assumes that wanting to be seen as vibrant and attractive is inherently trivial. It's not. It's deeply human. And more importantly, it's tied to something far more primal than mere cosmetic. You see, youth and beauty, however culturally constructed they may seem, are grounded in biology. We're drawn to glowing skin, bright eyes, healthy hair, and graceful posture, not because we're shallow, but because those traits are signals that the body is thriving, that the person in front of you is biologically intact, hormonally balanced, and energetically aligned. These are not opinions. They are hardwired perceptions rooted in survival and reproduction. And though modern life has evolved, our instincts haven't, People still assess health and vitality through the body, through what they see. When an older woman walks into a room and she radiates health, her posture is upright, her skin glows, her energy is steady. She disrupts expectations. She doesn't just turn heads, she shifts the emotional tone of the space. Why? Because she challenges the default assumption that age is decline. She forces a reconsideration that maybe, just maybe, there's a different way to age, a different way to carry time. And that's what this is really about. It's not about beauty as some superficial pursuit. It's about vitality made visible. When we look at someone and think, they look amazing, what we're really seeing is internal order, balance, a system that is working. And that system doesn't just impact the body, it impacts how a person speaks, how they move, how they engage. It changes how they're treated at work, in relationships, in society. Now, let's talk about what happens when that visible vitality begins to fade. It's not just a wrinkle here or a sag there. It's the body signaling that something is depleting. Nutritional stores, hormonal rhythms, cellular repair mechanisms. These changes aren't just cosmetic, they are metabolic realities. Skin becomes dull because collagen synthesis slows. Hair thins because the follicles are undernourished. Eyes lose brightness because blood flow and hydration decline. Energy drops because mitochondria aren't firing like they used to. What's so tragic is that we've been conditioned to think this is inevitable, that it's all just part of getting older. But that's not true. Many of these changes are amplified by nutrient deficiencies, stress, and chronic inflammation. They are not destiny. They are feedback. And feedback can be changed. The reality is that looking younger, looking vibrant, isn't about denying age. It's about correcting imbalance. It's about identifying what the body is missing, what systems have begun to falter, and giving them the raw materials to restore function. The glow that people talk about, that vitality people admire. It's just a body that's being fed what it needs. Nothing more, nothing less. So when we talk about looking younger, what we're really talking about is the visual representation of internal stability, of health, of coherence. And for older women, regaining that isn't just a matter of self-esteem. It's a matter of reclaiming social leverage, because like it or not, we live in a world where visual signals matter. A world where a woman who looks well is more likely to be heard, to be hired, to be loved, not because the world is fair, but because it's human. And if we can accept that, if we can stop moralizing the desire to be beautiful and instead start understanding it as a biological and psychological expression of vitality, then we can begin to approach aging not as a passive decline, but as an active project. A process of tuning the system, rebalancing the inputs, and learning how to signal to the world and to ourselves that we are still very much alive. Aging is one of those inevitable realities that everyone faces, yet few people are truly prepared for it, especially women. From a young age, women are flooded with messages that their value is tethered to their youth, the softness of their skin, the shine of their hair, the smoothness of their body. And then as time passes and those features begin to shift, the world often responds with silence, or worse, dismissal. But here's the deeper truth that most people miss. Aging isn't decay, it's transformation. And like any transformation, it can be either destructive or regenerative. The outcome depends entirely on how you engage with it. People often talk about aging like it's some slow slide into invisibility, but that's not what's actually happening. What's happening is that the body, after decades of operating under a certain hormonal and nutritional rhythm, starts shifting its internal priorities. It becomes more efficient in some ways, more fragile in others. It begins to ask different questions of you. It no longer runs on autopilot. It demands a kind of attentiveness that youth never required. That's not deterioration, that's evolution. But if you resist that evolution, if you pretend you're still operating under the same rules as before, that's when aging becomes suffering. The reason this is so important, particularly for women, is because there's a cultural lie that aging means fading. that as estrogen declines, as the skin changes, as the hair thins, so too does your relevance. But that's nonsense. What actually happens is that the body begins to reveal the quality of the care it's been given. Youth hides things. It covers up imbalance, but age exposes it. Every wrinkle, every sag, every fatigue pattern, these are the body's way of showing you where things are lacking. What systems are under stress, what has gone unacknowledged for too long. And here's the paradox. Once you stop resisting that feedback, once you stop seeing aging as the enemy and start seeing it as information, you gain power. Because now you're in dialogue with your biology. Now you're participating in your own evolution. You're no longer trying to cling to some static ideal of what you used to be. You're adapting. And in that process, something incredible can happen. You stop trying to look young and start trying to look well. And that distinction is massive. Looking young is about chasing an aesthetic. Looking well, that's about vitality. That's about energy, clarity, presence. It's about moving through the world with a kind of grounded aliveness that people can feel. That kind of beauty doesn't fade. It deepens, it sharpens, it becomes earned. But you cannot get there passively. You cannot wait for the world to validate you or tell you it's okay to invest in your body. You have to choose to treat your aging not as a curse, but as a call to rebuild, to renourish, to recalibrate every system in your body with care and precision. That might mean looking at your nutrition with ruthless honesty. It might mean identifying which vitamins, minerals, or hormones you're lacking and correcting them, not for vanity, but for vitality. It means sleeping like it's sacred. It means movement, not for punishment, but for preservation. And it means understanding that your body is not betraying you. It's giving you a new blueprint. The second half of a woman's life is not a slow decline unless she lets it be. It's an opportunity to embody a different kind of power, one that doesn't rely on being young, but on being in tune. Because when you're in tune with your biology, with your purpose, with your own rhythms, people feel it. They see it in your face, in your posture, in your energy. They may not be able to explain why, but they'll know there's something different about you, something magnetic, something whole. So no, aging isn't a death sentence for beauty. It's the beginning of a new kind of beauty, one that isn't frantic or desperate or performative. It's a beauty that comes from alignment, from nourishment, from depth. And that kind of beauty, it doesn't whisper. It speaks clearly, confidently, and with authority. It says, I am still here, and I have only just begun. You're running on nutritional fumes. Guess what goes first? Collagen production slows, skin elasticity drops, hair growth weakens, even the whites of your eyes can lose their clarity. It's not just aging. It's malnourishment masked as age. And once you see that, you can no longer pretend that supplements are optional. They become essential tools in your vitality toolbox. But here's the deeper issue. Most women aren't even aware they're deficient. They eat healthy, exercise, drink water, and still feel off. That's because the gap between what your body needs and what it's getting can grow over time, especially as absorption rates decline with age. You may be eating enough, but your body might not be absorbing enough, and that difference shows up in how you age. Correcting these deficiencies isn't just about vanity. It's about recalibrating the entire system. It's about giving your body the message that it is safe, supported, and resourced enough to return to a state of repair and regeneration. Because once the body feels supported, it stops conserving energy and starts rebuilding. And when it rebuilds, the visual changes are unmistakable. Skin brightens, eyes become clearer, hair thickens, nails strengthen, mood lifts, and confidence returns. Not because of anything external, but because your internal world is back in sync. The amazing part is how quickly this can happen. When the right deficiencies are identified and addressed, we're not talking about waiting years. Sometimes within weeks of correcting something like low vitamin D or B7 levels, women report sleeping better, having more energy, and looking in the mirror to see a different version of themselves, one they haven't seen in years. It's not magic, it's science. It's a body being given exactly what it needs to do what it was always capable of doing, expressing health, radiating vitality, and aging with strength instead of weakness. That's the real secret. Most of what we call aging is just the visible echo of internal depletion. Fix the depletion and the echoes fade. Restore the nutrients and the body responds. Give the system what it needs and it doesn't just survive, it starts to glow again. That glow is real and it's earned. Vitamin D is often misunderstood. It's labeled a vitamin, but in truth, it functions more like a hormone, an incredibly powerful one that interacts with nearly every cell in the human body. For women, especially those entering midlife and beyond, vitamin D isn't just a supplement to take during the winter months. It's a cornerstone of vitality, emotional balance, and visible health. When it's deficient, and for many women it is, the consequences are profound, both internally and externally. One of the first things to understand is that vitamin D is synthesized in the skin through sunlight exposure. That sounds simple, but in modern life, it rarely happens in a meaningful way. We spend most of our time indoors. We wear sunscreen religiously, which blocks the very rays needed for vitamin D synthesis. And as we age, our skin becomes less efficient at producing it. This means even if you're outside, your body may not be making enough. When levels drop, the effects ripple through the entire system. Low vitamin D levels are directly linked to fatigue, poor immune function, depressive moods, and weakened bones. But the signs show up in more subtle and visual ways too. Dull skin, dark under eye circles, thinning hair, and a general loss of that awake look people associate with youth. When someone has sufficient vitamin D, there's a vibrancy in their face, a clarity in their eyes, an energy that's hard to describe but instantly recognizable. That's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of physiological balance. Vitamin D plays a major role in regulating inflammation. When your levels are low, chronic inflammation creeps in, and chronic inflammation is a silent accelerant of aging. It breaks down collagen, weakens the skin barrier, disrupts hormonal communication, and leaves the entire system in a state of low-grade stress. The body begins to break down faster than it can rebuild. This is why women with vitamin D deficiency often look more tired, more aged, more off than they should for their age. Their bodies are operating under strain, and the strain shows. Beyond the surface, there's a psychological toll as well. Vitamin D influences mood by modulating serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of well-being, emotional regulation, and resilience. A deficiency doesn't just make you feel physically tired, it can make you emotionally heavy. You might wake up feeling flat, unmotivated, or disconnected without any clear reason. This is often misattributed to aging, when in reality, it could be corrected with something as basic as restoring vitamin D to optimal levels. Not normal levels, which are often too low to be truly effective, but optimal levels, where the body feels fully supported. What many women don't realize is that correcting vitamin D deficiency can result in a visible, almost startling change. Skin becomes more even-toned because inflammation drops. Eyes look clearer because fatigue lessens. There's a lightness in the face, a lifting of the features, not because of surgery or makeup, but because the body is no longer being dragged down by silent internal stress. This isn't a miracle, it's a biochemical truth. When the system is nourished, it begins to thrive, and that thriving becomes visible. Vitamin D also enhances the absorption of calcium and phosphorus, which are crucial for maintaining bone density. This might seem irrelevant to beauty, but it's deeply connected. The structure of your face is supported by the bones underneath. When bone density weakens, the face subtly collapses inward. The jawline softens, the cheeks sink, the posture slumps. A woman who carries herself with upright posture, who maintains facial structure, is perceived instinctively as more vital, more energetic, and yes, more attractive. Vitamin D helps preserve that structural integrity by supporting strong bones and muscular function. The importance of this nutrient cannot be overstated. It's not optional, and yet so many women are walking around depleted, unaware that the daily fog they feel, the flatness in their appearance, the emotional instability, the early aging aren't personal feedback. And the good news is, this is one of the easiest problems to correct. With proper supplementation, regular testing, and a commitment to giving the body what it needs, women can restore their vitamin D levels to a range where they don't just survive the aging process, they engage with it from a place of strength and radiance. Once you've experienced that shift, once you've felt the difference between deficiency and sufficiency, you begin to realize that looking younger isn't about denying your age. It's about eliminating the unnecessary burdens that make you look older than you are. Vitamin D is one of the most powerful levers you can pull to make that happen. Vitamin K2 is perhaps one of the most underrated keys to visible youth and long-term beauty. Yet it's rarely talked about outside of niche health circles. Most people, when they think of vitamins for aging, immediately go to the classics. Vitamin C, E, maybe D if they're aware. But K2, it barely registers, and that's a problem. For women, especially as they age, K2 can be the difference between aging gracefully and aging painfully. K2 doesn't work alone. It works in synergy with other nutrients, particularly vitamin D and calcium. While calcium is essential for bone strength, and vitamin D helps with calcium absorption, K2 is the vitamin that tells the body where to put the calcium. Without K2, calcium ends up in the wrong places, like arteries, joints, and soft tissues, leading to stiffness, poor circulation, and even that subtle thickening or hardening of facial features that people tend to associate with age. So, ironically, the very mineral most people take to preserve youth, calcium, can actually accelerate aging if it's not directed properly by K2. What does this look like in real life? Think of a woman in her 50s or 60s with rigid joints, slightly swollen fingers, a soft jawline that seems to be collapsing inward, or even deep lines around the mouth and nose. These aren't just cosmetic changes. They're often signs of calcification where it shouldn't be, and softness where there should be strength. The skin loses its structure because the bone and collagen underneath are being eroded or weakened, while unnecessary minerals are being deposited in the wrong places. It's not just aging, it's misdirection. The body is confused, and K2 is the guidance system that fixes that. K2 activates proteins in the body that shuttle calcium into bones and teeth where it belongs, and away from arteries and soft tissues where it becomes harmful. It's a traffic controller for longevity. When women are deficient in K2, the body starts to degrade internally in ways that are subtle at first but unmistakable over time. Crow's feet deepen, the face loses lift, the chest and spine begin to curve, energy levels drop, and worst of all, there's often no obvious cause. Blood work looks fine. Calcium levels are normal. And yet, the signs of premature aging march on. The reason K2 is especially vital for women is because hormonal shifts that come with menopause accelerate bone loss and increase cardiovascular risk. Estrogen, which naturally helps regulate calcium metabolism, begins to decline. Without estrogen's protective effects, women become far more susceptible to calcium displacement. This is where K2 comes in as a crucial ally. It helps pick up where estrogen leaves off. It keeps bones strong, arteries flexible, and the body's infrastructure youthful. That means stronger cheekbones, clearer arteries, and even smoother skin. Because when calcium metabolism is optimized, the entire system functions more elegantly. There's another dimension to beauty that isn't talked about enough: confidence. You can see it in the way a woman carries herself when her body feels aligned, when her skin has structure, and when her joints move fluidly. That kind of ease and grace in movement is the result of internal harmony, and vitamin K2 plays a central role in creating that harmony. It's not about superficial beauty, it's about deep structural integrity, the kind that doesn't just show up on your face, but in your entire presence. Unfortunately, the modern diet is almost completely devoid of K2. It used to be abundant in traditional foods like grass-fed animal products, fermented dishes like natto, and organ meats. But most women today don't eat those regularly, if at all. This makes deficiency not just possible, but likely. Unless you're consciously supplementing or deliberately eating high K2 foods, your body is probably running without this essential instruction set. Restoring K2 to optimal levels doesn't just stop unnecessary aging, it can reverse signs of it. Women who begin incorporating K2, especially alongside vitamin D3 and magnesium, often report improvements in skin elasticity, stronger teeth, reduced varicose veins, and even subtle changes in facial structure as the bone matrix strengthens and calcium is redistributed correctly. In a world obsessed with surface-level beauty hacks, K2 offers something far more substantial. It gives women the power to rebuild the invisible architecture that holds everything in place. When that foundation is solid, the surface reflects it, smoothly, naturally, and with strength that doesn't fade. When people hear about collagen, they usually think of skin smoothness, elasticity, and a youthful glow. And yes, collagen plays a massive role in the quality of the skin. But that's just scratching the surface. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It's the glue that holds everything together: skin, muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, even the lining of your gut. It's not just about how you look, it's about how you function. For women, especially as they age, a lack of collagen is one of the most fundamental drivers of that tired, sagging, weakened feeling that begins to show up, both in the mirror and in everyday life. In your 20s, collagen production is high, constantly being built, renewed, and recycled. That's why younger skin bounces back, joints feel fluid, and hair grows thick and strong. But after 30, collagen synthesis begins to slow down. By your 40S or 50S, levels can drop significantly, triggering a chain reaction. The face loses volume, skin sags, joints ache, hair thins, and nails become brittle. These slow, creeping changes are often dismissed as just aging, but in truth, the scaffolding of the body is eroding. This isn't vanity. It's structural biology. It's a visible manifestation of internal depletion. And the reason it matters isn't just about appearance. It's about how a woman feels in her body. Women don't want to be young again. They want to feel strong, radiant, and confident, and that can't be faked with makeup or filters. It comes from the inside out, from rebuilding what time, stress, and nutrient gaps have slowly taken away. Collagen is not a superficial fix, it's a structural reset. It allows the body to repair itself, restore tissue integrity, and rebuild the architecture that supports a youthful, vibrant appearance. The body can make its own collagen, but it needs raw materials like the amino acids glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, and cofactors like vitamin C, zinc, and copper. If even one of these is missing, the whole process can slow down or stop. Modern diets, even healthy ones, often lack these building blocks. Foods like bone broth, organ meats, and slow-cooked cuts of meat used to be staples. Today, they're rare. Without them, women slowly break down, without the resources to build themselves back up. But when those building blocks are restored through collagen-rich foods or high-quality supplements, real changes happen. Skin becomes plumper and more resilient. Joints move with more ease, and hair feels stronger and fuller. Most importantly, there's a return of quiet confidence, not because someone else notices, but because you feel different. And here's the thing, it's not too late. Whether you're 40, 50, or beyond, collagen can be rebuilt. The body is wired for restoration. It just needs the right inputs. When women provide them consistently, their bodies respond, often more quickly and visibly than expected. It's not vanity, it's chemistry. It's physiology doing what it's designed to do when it's no longer being starved. Structure is beauty, not in the shallow sense, but in the deeper, grounded sense of presence. When your internal structure is strong, you move differently, you hold yourself differently, you look different, not because you're chasing youth, but because you're embodying wellness. And that kind of presence isn't tied to age, it's tied to wholeness. Now let's talk about hormones, the silent architects of a woman's life. They shape energy, mood, skin, body composition, and emotional connection. Yet they're rarely talked about with the seriousness they deserve until something starts to feel off. When hormones are balanced, everything flows, the mind is clear, skin glows, sleep is restorative, and emotions are steady. But even slight disruptions can derail the system, especially for women in their 40s and beyond. Hormonal balance impacts visible youth beyond hot flashes or mood swings. It maintains the internal communication network that keeps all systems operating at their highest potential. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, and cortisol aren't just reproductive hormones. They regulate skin elasticity, hair growth, fat distribution, hydration, muscle tone, and even collagen production. When these hormones fall out of rhythm, the body feels it, and it shows. One early sign of imbalance is fatigue, not just tiredness, but deep exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. It often comes with dull, dry, sensitive skin, thinning hair, weight gain, brain fog, and a sense of disconnection from yourself. This is not just aging, it's your body asking for support. What's misunderstood is that hormones don't just decline, they get out of balance. You can have too much estrogen relative to progesterone or too much cortisol suppressing testosterone. This creates a cascade. Water retention, inflammation, sleep disturbances, blood sugar swings, all contributing to premature aging. Skin becomes reactive, puffiness becomes chronic, and the eyes lose their spark. But here's the good news. The body is incredibly responsive. With nutrients like magnesium, zinc, vitamin B6, and adaptogens like ashwagandha or maca, the endocrine system can recalibrate. Even small changes in diet, sleep, and stress can restore hormonal rhythm, and the transformation can be profound. Vitality returns, the skin glows, the face regains fullness and light. This isn't cosmetic, it's internal harmony expressing itself visibly. Hormones like testosterone support confidence, libido, muscle tone, and mental clarity. When supported, they bring back a fire, a strength that makes a woman feel powerfully alive. Estrogen, when balanced, supports skin thickness, hydration, and bone density. Its presence brings back that subtle luminosity we associate with youth. Hormonal balance isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's not about chasing lost time, but about reclaiming rhythms that once worked like clockwork. Hormones are messengers. When they're strong and clear, the body becomes a place of clarity and strength. The shift is gradual but real. Eyes brighten, the voice gains confidence, the skin glows, fat redistributes. What returns is that indescribable something, the energy of a woman who's no longer at war with her body. And finally, magnesium, the master mineral of peace and power. Often overshadowed by trendier nutrients, magnesium is essential to over 300 enzymatic processes in the body. When deficient, everything, skin, sleep, mood, feels off. Especially as women age, magnesium becomes both essential and commonly depleted. It's not just about cramps or digestion. Magnesium regulates stress, balances hormones, supports nerves and muscles, and maintains heart rhythm. It fuels cellular energy. Without enough, you operate in slow motion, tired after sleep, dull skin, flat mood, and constant reactivity. Modern life drains magnesium. Stress, caffeine, sugar, alcohol, meds, even workouts, all deplete it. As women age, retention drops. Tension, headaches, poor sleep, anxiety, dry skin, these can all stem from magnesium deficiency. When magnesium is restored, the effects are often immediate. Sleep improves, inflammation drops, cortisol lowers, skin recovers. The face looks rested, not from cosmetics, but because the system is finally at peace. The nervous system calms, anxiety eases, energy returns. Magnesium also supports blood sugar balance, which impacts skin, cravings, and fat storage. Women struggling with acne, belly fat, or sugar cravings often don't realize these symptoms are tied to magnesium. Restore it and cravings drop, Energy evens out, inflammation recedes. It supports muscles and joints, easing pain and restoring grace to movement. A relaxed body moves with more fluidity, posture improves, and with that, presence transforms. Magnesium isn't hard to get through glycinate or malate supplements, or topically via oils or Epsom salt baths. It's also in leafy greens, seeds, avocados, and dark chocolate. It's a small addition with big impact. It helps a woman unlock a version of herself she thought was lost. There's a certain beauty that comes from a nervous system at ease, from a body that's no longer fighting just to function. Magnesium helps create that ease. It's not about turning back time, it's about taking off the hidden weights that have dragged it forward too fast. When magnesium is restored, the body breathes and the whole woman returns, radiant, rested, and undeniably alive,